or it's being reported that the replacement referees are going to be officiating week 1 of the regular season. Now, obviously, a lot of people have a big issue with this. A lot of people think that it could really cost us, cost teams games, could cost maybe injuries, is a safety risk for players with all the concussion rules, so on and so forth. And I have to say one thing in response to all that. You people are full of crap. I'm sorry. It's nothing but an excuse, okay? You find me any professional referee that works in the NFL that's being locked out right now that doesn't make mistakes on a call. Find me a guy that calls the perfect game every single time. Go ahead. That's my thing. You can't name one guy. Now, I really think it's not a positive to have replacement refs in. You rather obviously have your veteran guys, the trained guys, the guys that are used to it. But outside of these guys looking really, really confused when they're trying to talk on the mic and talk to the nationally broadcasted audiences, I don't really think they're that bad. I mean, you've seen them miss calls. You've seen them, the 2 footballs on the field at the same time when in the one game when they were trying to line them up, that was pretty bad. Calling a touchback when the ball was down on the 6-yard line and never even came close to the goal line, that was pretty bad. The back turn to the camera, not knowing where the camera was, that was pretty bad. But, like last night, I'm watching, the Giants-Patriots game. And at one point, the ref stutters on the words, and he miscalls the penalty. And he comes back and tries to correct the penalty. And after each scenario, the people in the stadium are booing and screaming at the guy that he sucks. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, you gonna do any better?
Very fair.
Let's be honest here. And the professional referees aren't gonna do much better. They just look better doing it because they've been doing it for so many years. So I guess what I'll as a question I will post to the concept of them just doing it is, do you have a fear? And this question's for those in the chat room as well as you, Mike. And feel free to call in if you want to call in and talk about this, 201-430-2119. But do you think that these replacement referees will cost somebody or some team a game?
Well, I'm going to bring up 2 examples over the last 3 years of missed calls by the refs that replacements had nothing to do with. It was the first game of the regular season, I believe 2010. Calvin Johnson caught a ball in the end zone, and they ruled it down because he didn't hold on to it after he fell to the ground. And let's not forget last year, amidst all the concussion policies, Colt McCoy was allowed to get back on the field basically 2 plays after he sustained a severe concussion. People on his own sidelines didn't stop him from going back out, and the refs didn't notice anything, even though it was noticeable that he was visibly disoriented and probably shouldn't have been playing. And that wound up costing him his season. Whoever it is, there's going to be mistakes. It's just a fact of life. Nobody's perfect. And when you're in that type of a high-pressure situation, such as being on an NFL field in the middle of a very important regular season game, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be missed calls. The only thing you can really hope for is the fact is NFL teams use the preseason as a practice, dress rehearsal for their season. You can only hope the replacement refs tried to do that with this preseason. As a result of them playing in a couple games, you'd like to think some of the bugs got out of the system. I don't really think the replacement refs are going to lead to more blown calls, blown games, injuries than the regular refs would. Because every year, with the regular refs, there's at least 2 or 3 times that there's some play that the majority of the NFL nation winds up thinking was a crap call. That's going to happen. It does not matter what sport you're in. It doesn't matter what season you're in. It doesn't matter how many cameras you got around. Something's going to get missed at some point. It's just a fact of life. So The first month is probably going to be a little weird to watch as the refs continue to get their timing down. But no, I don't think it's going to be that drastic of a difference than the regular refs. You know, everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, and that's, I completely agree with that. The simple fact of the matter is, these guys are going out there giving it what they have, and no, are they going to be perfect? Of course they're not going to be perfect. But at the same time, neither were the regular refs on a regular basis. Now, they seemed much, much more comfortable. That, you know, the regular refs are much more comfortable with the national audience looking at them. They're much more comfortable doing the mic and talking with the camera and explaining the rules and the, you know, what was broken, whatever, so on and so forth. But the simple fact of the matter is, they still call pass interference when there wasn't a pass interference. They still don't call every holding call that's out there. But then again, every play is holding. But
they still miss pass interference when they're supposed to be one.
Exactly. So you know what? It's a very, to put it simply, no matter how or who you use in refereeing, there's going to be mistakes, as you said earlier. And that goes in every single sport. It really does. Even some, you know, soccer, where the guys collapse on the ground every single freaking play. You know, you're sitting there. Sometimes the guy really gets tripped, and it should be a foul. Other times the guy doesn't get touched, and he just falls because he lost the ball and he got mad, so he tried to draw a foul.
What about the flopping in the NBA all the time?
Oh, God.
Huh?
No,
Reggie Evans.
We cannot talk about flopping. My chat room and me will not stop. Me and my buddy Pixel Junkie in our chat room. Now, that I do agree with Pixel Junkie. He mentions in our chat room that week 1 will be filled with a uber. I like that word, so we'll use it. An uber amount of instant replays. He's counting on about 15.
that's what you have it for, though.
Yeah, you might as well use it, and you do not. The last thing you want to say, you know, Cowboy Giants week 1 division rivalry game. The last thing you want to say is one or the other of those two teams gets screwed out of the division title this year because of a week 1 game by a blown call by a replacement referee. It's the last thing you want to do, because if it goes all the way back and you're able to sit here and say to yourself, well, if they made the right call, so-and-so would have won, and they actually would have won the division this year. You don't want to look back at that and say it. And, I mean, football is a game of no excuses, all right?
You want to know another thing I don't want to see week 1?
Sure.
I don't want to see Tony Romo hand the ball to Prince Akamora like he handed it to Darrelle Revis in the fourth quarter of that Jet game in the first game of last season either.
Well,
just a little point there I want to.
Well, hopefully maybe you'll be able to get like a small break from work next Wednesday, so you can call in during the preview of the game, and we can touch on that. Our reminisce. That was a terrible. I was drinking that night. Man, it was depressing. It was a hard pill to swallow. Anyway, but you know, when it comes down to the replacement referees, I just wanted to touch on this for a few minutes, because honestly, it's one of those things that once the season gets started, to be honest, you might be beating it to death. You really, I have no idea, because I don't know how many calls they might blow, how many calls they might not blow. And what you do know is they're going to be under a microscope bigger than any referees have ever been under in any sport you can name.
Any minor call they blow, you're going to be hearing about it all week.
People are going to tear them apart. And that's where I feel bad for these guys.
Absolutely.
Is the fact that, you know, referees are under a big enough microscope already. You are judged all the time, because people sitting at home have DVR. They have the instant replays constantly by the station broadcasting the game. You have the ability to go on a YouTube or something and watch the stream. You might have recorded the game yourself to watch it at home, which the NFL would not approve of, but you might have done it anyway, and you could watch it over and over again. And so referees are already under a huge microscope, and now being a replacement ref, these guys.
And the officials on the field don't actually have access to the same replays that everybody else has, obviously. They're only allowed to look at the replays if the head coach throws the flag, or if they get the signal from the booth. Those are the only two times. And the only replays they're allowed to watch are the ones that show up in that little portable TV booth thing that they use. And sometimes, I'm sure this is wrong. I'm sure they've wound up improving it. But I know for a while, there was a question of how many different angles they actually got in those boxes. I'm pretty sure that's been caught up to speed, though.
Yeah, and I'm sure it has. And you know what? I think that like I said, I really just wanted to touch on this real quick. I don't want to get overly into it because of the simple fact that, like I said, this is something I can see talking about numerous times throughout until the regular refs come back, if they even do come back. Because I mean, the lockout's a mess. The referees want. I think the biggest issue in their talks right now is a pension plan. The referees want the NFL to keep putting money into a retirement pension plan for the referees. The NFL is saying it's not up to us to help you save up money to retire. Now,
and that again, like with the NFL lockout of the players last year, the owners. Tell me if I'm wrong, but honestly, the owners basically just want to get as much money for themselves and the hell with everyone else.
Of course they do.
They barely wanted to put in the concussion policies. They barely wanted to do something for the retired players as it was. And now the officials are not the players. The best officials are the ones you don't see during the games. But we know they have a difficult job. They're the ones who have to be the impartial decider, basically, of all the close penalties. So this seems something to someone like me. I don't understand why the NFL wouldn't give them a pension plan. It's a pension that basically every corporation winds up having a pension for their people. There's 401k or something, and this is what you don't want to give your officials, who you trust to decide games for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm exactly. And you know what? At this point, you really got to look at I can see where the refs are coming from, because you want to sit there and say, to yourself that you have something to retire on. I get that. Yeah. But it's a mess. I really hope they get it worked out. Yeah. If they don't, though,
another thing
we do it what we got to do it.
Yeah, another thing to throw in there, if I might add. I don't know the actual figures, but I think we all know the average NFL player probably makes the least out, and I'm talking like the minimum salary in the NFL, I would wager is less than any of the big three sports: Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL. NFL is probably the least amount. So you think of what that means an NFL ref is getting, who's probably getting a fraction of what the lowest priced player in the league is. There's no $100,000 contracts. I don't think.
No.
Someone can look that up.
We got a phone call. Hold on one sec. Let's get you on. I see you. All right, you're on the air with Sports Zone. Who's this?
This is Eric.
What's up? Eric got you calling in, huh?
Yeah, well, I was listening to this replacement reps talk here. We're a little bit behind you on the delay, but if nobody told you that they were replacement reps, would you even know the difference?
That's a very good point.
Maybe certain moments, but for the majority, no.
And number two, and then I'll let you guys talk about it, is the refs, before they have this holdout, make $8,000 a game. $8,000 a game. That was their game check each week.
So
I think $8,000 to ref a game is more than reasonable.
Yeah, because you think about it, you're doing 16 games a year at $8,000 a game.
That's a little over $100,000.
Yeah, you're making over $100,000 a year, and you're working 6 months out of the year.
Are doctors, lawyers, people that already have money. These aren't poor guys who ref, and it's their only job. This is a second job for most of these guys to just clear their boredom.
That's just sad. I need to become a ref.
So the fact that they can hold out, this money issue is a BS issue with them, because they don't need any more money.
No, I can't argue with you on that one.
Because their pension from being a lawyer or a doctor ain't enough. They're not going to make enough money doing that. They need to really stick it. Greed has overrun everything. I don't care if they're replacement refs. That's what we have replay for if they screw up that bad. I'm not anticipating them screwing up that bad, because I'm sure these guys aren't brand new refs that came in off the street. I'm sure these refs have got to be guys that have been coaching it or refing, at other levels. Whether it be collegiate, whether it be CFL, whether it be arena, whether it be wherever, these guys have been refs somewhere else.
That they have been. All the replacement refs are all guys that have refereed at some level of football. I think the lowest they allowed the applicants to be as replacement refs were high school, and it had to be Texas high school. It wasn't my Parsippany High School football team. you had to go. You had to referee like where the fans might kill you if you mess up the call.
Yeah.
Now.
So, yeah, I'll let you guys talk on it, but I just figure I would throw those couple of points in there because, to be honest, we're spending so much time complaining about these replacement refs, you know, in the preseason, when, to be honest, you wouldn't know the difference if the NFL never brought it up to begin with.
Yeah, if they
kept
it to themselves,
there would be a couple guys. You might say, "Oh, where's Ed Hockley?"
Yeah, where's Jack Diesel referee? Yeah. Well, Eric, I do appreciate you calling. Mike wanted to mention that it's nice to talk to you. You guys will meet each other next Thursday.
All right.
And on top of that, though, I can't argue with you. When it comes down to the simple fact, I think there would be moments and games where you could tell that they were replacement referees. But as a majority, if you didn't know, I don't think you would know. It's
all right, have a good show, guys. I'm going to let you guys talk.
All right, Eric. Have a good one, bud.
The only thing I would have thrown in there is just, are we really certain that every NFL official is a lawyer or a doctor on the side?
I think what he's trying to say is the fact that a large amount of them are guys that have established respectable positions in the real work world. I mean, not all of them are living strictly off of their NFL refereeing.
To give him the point, they were just saying earlier on Boomer and Carton, it's not like NFL officials really get fired. When's the last time you heard about an NFL official being fired?
Yeah.
So
most of them don't be a complete loser and you'll be fine.
Yeah, most of them probably do have the tenure. So yeah.